Meal prepping is beneficial during a fat loss phase because it prevents mindless snacking, guarantees at least one meal per day that you don't have to worry about for the entire week, and they make it simple to track in your food logs, ultimately saving you time. And we all know, time is precious. In today's video, we are making a steak fajita meal prep in which every component, the fajita, Mexican rice, and salsa verde, are made from scratch and cost less than $5 per meal prep. Let's get into it. Since there are multiple components to this recipe, we want to get our hardware prepped. Start by preheating the oven to 500 degrees and putting a sheet pan into it. Then preheat 2 pans on medium heat and place a large bowl into the freezer. This will all make sense in a few minutes, but for now, let's keep it moving. The cut of steak being used in this recipe is important for multiple reasons. What we're looking for is a lower calorie, lean piece of... We're looking for a lower calorie, lean piece of steak that still provides great flavor. While I tried multiple steak options, I think top round was the best, although if you can't get it, you can also use flank steak as well. As an added bonus, top round is about the cheapest cut of steak you can buy and is packed with protein and has a great overall macro profile. To get pieces that are super tender and blend in perfectly with the roasted vegetables, we want to cut this steak diagonally into thin pieces. I try and take my time with each slice to really get them as thin as I can, kind of like this. Once all of the steak is sliced, we are going to add it to a bowl and top it with soy sauce, salt, black pepper, baking soda, and avocado oil. This is the one part of the recipe where I go against the grain of traditional Mexican preparation and use techniques commonly used in Asian dishes. The baking soda is going to help break down the proteins in the meat and make it more tender. Then the soy sauce is going to add an umami backbone that will stack on even more flavor to the final dish. Mix all of the ingredients together and let it marinate while we get our veggies prepped. For that, we will need an assortment of peppers and a couple of onions. For my selection of peppers, I went with every color I can go with. In my opinion, this will give us the most dynamic flavor and give us the best tasting fajita. This includes a red, a yellow, a green, and an orange bell pepper, along with 2 poblano peppers. Now, I have been testing this recipe with Anaheim peppers, but of course, with my luck, they were sold out today, so poblano peppers it is. They are a great substitute, so feel free to use whatever peppers you prefer. As far as chopping goes, I have no real rhyme or reason to the way I go about it. I just want the slices to be a similar thickness so everything cooks evenly. To do this, I chop everything into 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch pieces. I don't cut the peppers any more than this because they will shrink considerably after being roasted and are easier to pick up with a fork when eating. After each vegetable is sliced, add them to the largest bowl in your kitchen. Once all the chopping is finished, season the vegetables with cumin, smoked paprika, garlic powder, onion powder, chili powder, dried oregano, salt, and black pepper.
Yes. Thank you.
Along with lime juice and avocado oil. Now get in there with your hands and get everything evenly coated. Don't skimp on this part and take a minute or two to make sure all the veggies get some seasoning love. This will ensure an even taste on meal prep day 1 all the way to meal prep day 5. At this point, the oven and sheet pan should be preheated. Don't burn your hands, put the sheet pan on your work surface, and dump your veggies directly onto it. You should hear that sizzle right away. This is going to start cooking the veggies instantly and will save us 5 to 10 minutes since there is no heat up time necessary. Shout out to Brian Lagerstrom for showing me this flawless technique. Evenly spread the veggies out using tongs, throw the veggies into the oven, and set a timer for 10 minutes. While the veggies are roasting, we can knock out 2 things at once. First, turn the dial up to medium-high on both of our pans. We will get our salsa verde going by adding tomatillos, a jalapeno, a serrano, and some roughly chopped onion into the cast iron. By the way, if you don't want too much heat, drop the serrano pepper. The goal is to get some nice color on all of the veggies to take the taste of the salsa to the next level. Just flip these every few minutes while we cook our steak. Speaking of steak, into the other pan, add 4 grams of avocado oil, spread it evenly around the pan, and add half of the steak. Spread it out into an even layer and let it cook for about 2 minutes. This will develop some beautiful crust on the surface of the meat as we keep enhancing the flavor of this dish. After 2 minutes, toss the meat so we can get the other side cooked, which should take about an additional minute. Add the cooked steak to the large bowl that once had our veggies in it, put the pan back on the stovetop, and wipe out any remaining residue. Now check on the other pan, flip the veggies if necessary, and repeat the same process for the second batch of steak. At this point, the timer should be going off and it is time to pull the veggies out of the oven and give them a toss. Mix the vegetables around the sheet pan, throw them back in the oven, and set another timer for 10 minutes. By now, the veggies in the pan should have some nice charred spots on them and they are ready to be transformed into salsa verde. To do this, all we need is a food processor on a scale. Into the processor, add our veggies along with roasted garlic,
Oh, hell no.
cilantro, lime juice, water, and salt. Wait, Nick, when did you make the roasted garlic? I always have roasted garlic ready to go in my fridge and is actually one of the many cooking techniques I include in my cookbook. This recipe is also in the cookbook and has been there for over a week at this point, so not only can you be the first to make new recipes, but now you don't have to listen to my annoying cookbook ads and get straight to cooking. Check out the link in the pinned comment below, use code E4CM for 10% off, and enjoy more than 100 recipes. Now, if you don't have roasted garlic or you don't want to make it, you can crush in 5 grams of fresh garlic instead. Run the food processor on high for 1 to 2 minutes or until smooth. This salsa is hot and we want to cool it down so we can start packing our meal prep soon. This is where our frozen bowl we put in the freezer at the start of the meal prep comes in handy. Grab it from the freezer and pour the salsa into it. Now place it back in the freezer for 5 to 10 minutes to let it completely chill. Once the timer goes off, turn the broiler on high and give the vegetables another good mix. Since my broiler only spans about 2/3 of my oven and the veggies have shrunk significantly, I'm going to place them in the middle 2/3 of the pan. I will then throw the vegetables back in the oven for 3 to 4 minutes. Please note, my sheet pan is on the middle rack of the oven, so if you put the veggies closer to the broiler, they will need less time under that intense heat. Just keep an eye on them. After 3 minutes, this is how my veggies are looking. They still have a slight crunch to them, but also have a perfect roasted flavor, which is signature for a fajita dinner. Place them into the original bowl that now has the steak in it and give everything a good mix. The seasonings from the veggies are going to melt perfectly into the steak, and anyone you feed this to will think they were made in the same pan. Let those flavors marinate together while we make our final component to this dish, Mexican rice. My goal was to make this as authentic as possible so it feels and tastes like you are eating a real fajita dinner at a Mexican restaurant every night of the week. I honestly couldn't believe this was such an easy process. The pan we roasted the veggies in should be clean and still on medium heat, so directly into that we will add our avocado oil. Mix the rice and oil around so that it is well incorporated and let it sit for a couple of minutes. The goal here is to toast the rice. In the meantime, grab a small bowl, put it on a scale, and add tomato sauce, chicken bouillon, garlic powder, onion powder, cumin, and oregano. Using a small whisk, blend all of these ingredients together and put it off to the side. Checking on our rice, you can now see it is starting to get toasty. Mix it around and let it sit for a couple more minutes until most of the rice takes on a lightly brown color. While the rice is toasting, pour the chicken broth into a measuring cup and heat it up for about 1 minute or until it reaches about 110 to 120 degrees. Once the rice looks like this, add the tomato sauce mixture and combine it with the rice. The goal is to have the rice spread throughout the sauce and let those flavors cook together for about 30 seconds. Then it's time to add the broth. Again, mix everything together, bring it up to a boil, turn the heat to low, and cover with a lid. The rice will take anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes to cook and will depend on the pan you use as well as the stovetop that you are cooking on. For my stovetop, it took about 12 minutes, and then it is time to take it off the heat and let it cook the rest of the way through. Don't take the lid off, and most certainly do not mix the rice around. Enjoy how easy it is to make rice and let it do its thing off to the side for an additional 15 minutes while you get all the dishes done to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. 15 minutes later, and this is what our rice looks like. Don't worry about the edges looking more red than the middle. Once we mix everything around like this, the flavors will blend together perfectly. With minimal effort, we now have nice, fluffy, delicious rice ready to be poured into our meal prep containers. Speaking of which, I have tried several different meal prep containers and I have found these ones to be the best. If you like meal prep containers that are actually airtight and seem to help your meals last longer, these are it. I have a link in the description if you want to check them out. Since we will be eating all of these meal preps, evenly disperse the fajita mix and rice the best you can. Then take these little plastic cups, fill them with salsa verde, and add them to the containers. Put the lid on, throw them in the fridge, and when ready to eat, put a damp paper towel over them and cook them in the microwave in 1-minute intervals, mixing everything around in between. It usually takes about 3 minutes until everything is fully heated, and just like that, we have a scratch meal prep that is packed with protein, fiber, and endless amounts of flavor. This meal prep is perfect for dinner, and my McChicken meal prep is perfect for lunch. You will have fresh McDonald's fries and an identical tasting McChicken to pair with it, making this meal prep an excellent 1-2 punch. You can check out that meal prep here and keep yourself out of the kitchen all week long. Until next time, deuces.